Welcome, everyone, to the Middle School Building Committee of March 10th, 2025. We're located in room 219 of the Savage Center, and this meeting is being recorded by NCM. So, with that, let's get right to public comment. Anyone here from the public wishing to make a comment? Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been watching these meetings for a while, thought I'd show up in person now, just to see what it was like. But for those who don't know me, my name is Jerry Miller. I was involved with the rec department for 45 years, and the last 20 years I was its superintendent. And one of the things that we did, I'm going to give you a quick history as to where we are with the walking path, is 20 years ago our fields were in the worst condition of any fields in the area. Towns would not compete on our fields because they were in bad shape. So we formed a committee to look at all our fields, and we redid all the fields in the town. And every field in the town now has an average of 400, 450 uses per year. There's a formula that goes with that. So you get 5.5 if you're doing gym, but 6 points if you're doing soccer. So that's how it works out. Well, the fields up in the Coakley complex we're averaging 1,400 uses per year, per field, all three of those top fields. So obviously, when we redid everything and reconfigured all the fields in the town, it came down to a much more usable. It's still over the 450. It's probably like 650, but it's much better. We decided to have all the fields either be diamond shaped or rectangular shaped, and it worked out perfectly. We had a perfect maintenance system come in. Mr. Ryan was able to put together a perfect system, so our fields are still in pretty good shape 20 years later. In the process of doing that, we looked at the Coakley Middle School fields, and that was one of the areas that we really didn't do a lot with, because they were there and they were not in bad shape except overused. So if you ever took a walk behind by the Little League side, you will see the fence line over there, just overgrown with all types of brush, tons of it. We have all types of brush all around the fence line on the field down there now. And it cost me a couple $100, but I brought all the local landscapers down to the OCC one night. Pizza was on me, beer was on them. And I said, look, this is what I'd like you to do. If you would be interested, could you come down there one day with all the crews? And this is every local landscaper. There was about 8 of them. And one Sunday, they came in and dispatched up all the brush that was on the side, so it was beautifully and nice and clean. I went to Mark Ryan, I said, you know, Mark, in order to complete this thing, wouldn't it be nice if we had a walking path around there? So we started a walking path around there. We built a walking path, and we put exercise equipment around about 2/3 of it. We held off because we knew there was somewhere down the line, there was projection of a new school coming up. So we sort of held off putting the equipment in there. The other thing that we also were looking to do, probably 1/4 of the kids that go up there are not part of the program. So we're looking to put a playground up there also. That was part of the long-term plan. This is just my ideas from a long time ago. Anyways, I totally understood what happened when the school was going on. We're going to lose some field, we're going to lose some walking path. And then I saw in the paper that there was some potential money coming back, and it would be nice to complete that walking path and bring it back into play. If you go up there during season, you will see that people are walking it, they're using the exercise equipment. Not even during season. We actually put lights on the poles, so when the lights are not on, it's like street lights out there, so the people could still utilize it. And if there was any way it could be brought back, even in a, it doesn't have to be a measured mile. It could be whatever it is in order so they could walk within the facility. Yeah. Especially when the kids were playing, you don't want to be walking in front of a building and your kids are in the field back there. You want to be able to see them. So, so that's why that's my purpose here tonight, is to see if there's any way, shape, or form that we could complete that walking path and bring it back in and complete the whole project.
Okay, I know we've had some discussions with the project team and with Mark Ryan, and maybe I could turn it over to maybe Brian to give maybe an update.
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Luke because he's really been spearheading this as far as looking into options. And we have a couple different options shown here that all have different conversations related to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've looked at a few different options. One being to restore the walking path close to the original location, which would be the orange line shown here, which is, you know, at the toe of the slope leading up to the new access road in between the football field. You can see here at the photo on the right with the added road and how the football field has shifted slightly. There's not enough room between the base of those light poles and the sideline of the football field to safely get that road in. So then we took a step back and we looked at a couple other options where we would cut through the two fields, which would be that red line, and then a combination of the purple line heading behind the softball field, and then again the yellow line heading between the football fields. Both of those resulted in some conflicts with the softball field. You can't get, again, behind the bleachers, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, and the toe of the slope, as well as the backstop. That's an even tighter pinch point there. And then the yellow line resulted in the issues with the football field. So then we took a step back and looked at extending the walking path up the slope to the new sidewalk that's going to be installed adjacent to the new building as a potential option, which would result in, you know, minimal to no cost, potentially an added crosswalk crossing over that road or something like that. And then the fourth option we've just started to look at would be adding an additional sidewalk on the field side of the road up at that road level. That would eliminate the need to add a retaining wall to reduce the footprint of that slope. And that has some challenges too. We need to review the width of that road, make sure it's, if we could take anything out of that, make sure that's acceptable to the fire department. And then the program of the school, I believe that's intended to be part of the drop-off loop, so we need to understand if we can fit, you know, enough room for cars to get by and what the intent is there. But we are looking at a few options. I don't think we're ready to rule any of them out yet. I think all are possible. It's just the cost factor comes into play with that added that retaining wall back in, and then the additional sidewalk, obviously having the two higher price tags. If we can reroute the path to use these, the new sidewalk we'll be adding, that would also be minimal to no cost there, as the four options we're looking at this time.
So I know you've had some discussions with Mark Ryan. What were Mark's thoughts?
So his preferred option is getting the walkway back as close as possible as the original path, which would be down at the field level with a retaining wall. He thought utilizing the new sidewalk against the building, although not the best option, I think would be his least preferred but acceptable. And then the additional sidewalk on the other side seemed to be his preference. So I'd say there's, in order, the original path close to the field, second would be the added sidewalk, third would be utilizing the existing, or the new sidewalk that will be installed.
Okay. All right. So it's fair to say that, you know, you're looking at the different options. You haven't come up with a recommendation yet, but, you know, maybe by next meeting, you know, maybe we'll have a recommendation.
Yeah, correct, yeah. The price tag is gonna come into factor here with the options, and I
Okay.
think that'll help us weed through them.
But the clear intent is to try to put the walking path back as close to what it was previously.
Correct,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
Jerry?
Is there a price tag attached to each one of them that we're aware of?
Not exactly. The retaining wall was looked at early on in the project, the retaining wall, and then adding in that path. Due to the pinch point around the light poles that are there and the athletic light pole bases, that was why that one was kind of stepped back from, but that had about a $400,000 to $500,000 price tag with the retaining wall and then the walking path. The other options, we haven't priced out the added sidewalk yet. Again, we're chasing down the other town departments to make sure reducing that roadway would be acceptable to them. We haven't crossed all those bridges yet, so we don't have a price for that one. And then utilizing the existing sidewalk would be, you know, minimal, just to add a crosswalk crossing over the road from the field side to the building side. Again, minimal cost there.
Yeah, and I think talking through the options, I mean, the dark blue line where you'd come up out of the path, potentially use the crosswalk that's currently supposed to go in at the lower left-hand corner. to get to the sidewalk and then walk behind the school. You'd still be able to see onto the field, and then you add a crosswalk there to get back to the path near the concession stand. Again, minimal cost. You'd have to stripe and put a crosswalk in closer to the concession stand. The discussion point really for the committee around the green line is we believe that that lane is two vehicle widths wide, so that the hashed area is potential queuing lane that allows cars to get around that. If that's a programmatic deal breaker, then we cannot narrow that roadway significantly to put an added sidewalk. Obviously, it'd be the cost of adding the sidewalk, but the rough grade is pretty much there. It's not gonna, if we do that, it's not gonna shrink that roadway, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not gonna be narrower than a lane of travel, so from a fire department's perspective, there shouldn't be any issues with getting apparatus around that building.
Correct.
It's just whether or not you intended that striped line to be a queuing and parked car area. And then the field locations, we had talked about just doing a stone, dust, gravel path, if you will, kind of along as tight as we could along the bottom of that field, which is a basic option. You are gonna have a pinch point, kind of the sideline of the football field to that light pole there is gonna be really tight. I mean, you're talking, it's only 4 to 8 feet now.
I would expect, if those are fields in use, a lot of people are gonna be standing in the sideline watching their kids play.
Potentially standing on that side, correct. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people stand on this side for those games, and you
Yeah.
also be able to stand up on the
Bleachers.
roads, well, the bleachers on this are on this side,
Yeah.
correct, yep. So the retaining wall options, depending on how formal you want the path to be, the retaining wall either goes a majority of that slope to push the path back from the field, or it is a portion of that run of slope around the light poles so that the path can go behind the light poles. When it gets to the light poles, you're basically weaving around it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, there is cost associated with any retaining wall option, obviously, and there is cost associated with a new sidewalk up on the road level on the field side. So it really comes down to, price point and if you want to entertain costs to complete the path.
Okay. And I assume you're talking to the fire department on the issues of, roadway width and whatever?
I don't think we foresee an issue with the road width if it's a single lane. It just
Yeah.
becomes a question of if they have cars queuing there for pickup and drop off, what is
Okay.
that procedure? I don't know how that differs to existing conditions now in certain locations. Obviously, if there's an emergency, the cars would have to leave the queue lane anyway, so
Yeah.
it becomes, kind of is there a
Okay.
compromise there?
Yeah, as is, the road is 25 feet wide,
Yeah, so-
24 feet wide, and the talk is the 4 or 5 foot wide sidewalk, so bringing it down to, 20
20
feet
feet.
wide.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any questions, Sherry?
Well, I do feel better the fact that it's still on the table and discussing it. So, as I mentioned before, probably 1/4 of the people that are up at that field at any given day there's any function up there are not involved with the games going on. They're watching, or the parents are walking them around, just keeping the younger ones busy. So, we're trying to, sort of address that issue. And like I mentioned before, we sort of held back on some things we were looking to do, long-range plan, such as a playground and completing the exercise equipment, because we knew this was coming down the pipe
Yeah.
somewhere down the line, so we sort of held
Okay.
off.
All right.
But I feel better about that. I do have another question. I think I might have the answer, but we've been approached, the last hurrah committee has been approached about when they're gonna close this school.
Yeah.
So they've asked us to look at the potential of putting on a last hurrah up at the middle school. So it took us 18 months to do the one for the high school, so if this is a short-term thing, I don't know what we're gonna be able to do, but it's gonna be nothing to the degree it was up there.
Well, I mean, we hadn't thought of having that there was gonna be any kind of event, like similar to the high school.
Either did I,
than
till
what we
2 days
had.
ago.
So it's, to be honest with you, we hadn't planned for it.
We talked about it a long time ago, I said, and then somebody approached us and said, hey, can you guys do this? We said, so we're meeting Wednesday, and we'll throw out the idea, but it would be a smaller version of it, but, I mean, the last one was great.
And would you go to the last one with the tours and everything? I mean, how much are you anticipating going inside the building for
Oh, you know,
Is it tour
that's the whole purpose, I think, would be, we were given schematics by your people as to where we could go. We had, and everybody, and we had two phases. The first phase was where anybody could go, any child could go, anybody could go down there and walk through and see the school, and they had different things that represented the eras. Now, the eras from a high school and to a middle school, this middle schooling went, 72 to now, so it doesn't have the long history that the high school did. And then in the evening, we had a 21 and older function, and we had 2,500 people show up. And we probably could have sold another 2,500 tickets. It was mobbed. It was a great night, and we were pleased, and we were looking to build a concession stand out of the proceeds, but it never happened.
Well, considering what this what our concession stand cost, probably, you know, it's too bad you couldn't do that at the high school, but
Oh, yeah.
having said that, again, we hadn't planned on anything, we weren't aware of anything. I'm not sure what issues that produces
Well,
schedule-wise for us.
Yeah, the schedule is very tight.
I know.
We have to be out 4 days after the last day of school. We've
After
turned the
the school.
building over to the contractor. And Tim's been doing snow dances every week so that we don't lose any days.
Yeah, and
That's how tight the schedule is.
Yeah, and as soon as the school ends, they've got like a week to move over to the new building, and then they're gonna start demolition.
Right.
So
Actually, 4 days.
Yeah, so I don't know how much time there's really gonna be.
But we basically did the same thing. We closed the school, and we were there the next day. And again, I don't know what the committee's gonna do, but we'll probably reach out to those who went to the school there
Yeah.
and see if there's any interest in it. And then we would proceed to say, well, come to you people, come to the school committee, come to the selectmen to get a one-day license if they wanna go that far. I have no idea, and but we're trying to get an idea
Okay.
when it's gonna close.
Possibly discuss one of our transition meetings.
Yeah, that's good.
The only difference between this and the high school project is that we actually have to take this building down, including, most importantly, the gym, in order to finish the road in front of this building. The high school, we did not need to do that. The older building was isolated as it currently stood. So we were able to complete all the circulations for the new building without having to take the old building down. So this summer, the key is getting the Coakley gym down as soon as possible, because we gotta complete that access road in front of the building. So that is a big difference between the high school.
Yeah, we'll back off if you finish the track, no problem.
Yeah.
Even trade.
All right, I think we have an agreement there, so, I mean, you have your meeting Wednesday,
Right.
but we'll take a look at it, but, I mean, my sense is that it's really gonna be tough schedule-wise to do anything.
I agree, and I don't even know what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
You know, I talked to a couple of them, they said, nah.
yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jerry.
Alan, can I just, so for next steps for the walking path, I mean, do we want order of magnitude pricing for those? I mean, obviously get the review of the fire department for the one option, but then order of magnitude pricing for a sidewalk on this side if we're able to do it, and then what retaining wall options, we already have a rough order of magnitude on a full retaining wall from a while ago, right?
Yeah,
But it's old-
pre-C's,
old.
yeah, I think that was actually pre-us, but yes, there was
Okay.
a number
Yeah.
That's right.
a long time ago on
Yeah,
that.
it was something like 300,000, as I remember, we talked about it at the planning board meeting.
Yeah, I think it was just linear foot cost of a wall,
Yeah.
whatever it was. so-
Yeah, I mean, I'd come up with costs of all the viable alternatives, so-called, that we'll just take a look at it, you know, maybe you make a recommendation and we'll make a decision.
Right, so at this point, it's gonna be rough order, we're
Yeah.
not designing anything. We're
Right.
not designing 3 options to price, we're just gonna give you.
Just give us a
general
rough order of
ballpark.
magnitude, we'll pick
Okay.
one and we'll move on.
Okay.
Would it make, are you gonna be coming back in a month's time with this information? Would it make sense for me to be here in case?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
make a decision no later than that, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously to get it teed up for any work this summer.
Yeah, and we'll also, I assume you'll also be talking with Mark Ryan.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Jerry, I think the next meeting's gonna be at the school.
That's right.
As
Yeah.
well. So the next meeting is gonna be at the old school.
Okay.
Just FYI.
I still know how to get there.
All right, thank you. See you, Jerry. All right. Let's go right into minutes of the February 2025 meeting.
I'll move for approval, but I just had one edit that I provided the team, so you have that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay.
I do also want to note Teresa is online, I don't know.
She is online?
She is.
Okay. All right. So I take a roll call. Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion? Hearing none. Let's take with the suggested change by Bob. Let's take a vote. Madeleine?
Yes.
Paul Riccardi?
Yes.
Jason Adams? Bob Donnelly?
Yes.
Tim Luff?
Yes.
Teresa Stewart?
I'm gonna abstain because I missed that meeting, Alan.
Okay. Dave Hiltz?
Yes.
Margot Fresek?
Yes.
Gary Pelletier?
Yes.
And Chairman votes yes, unanimous. Thank you. Okay. February invoices.
I'll walk you through the vendor invoice package for February. The first line here is, lines 1, 2, and 3, sorry, are for Vertex's monthly OPM services. And then also the on-site QA/QC testing from PSI, and an invoice from Wakefield Moving for the delivery of some moving crates to the teachers. For those three lines totaling $90,823.75. Line item number 4 is for AI3's monthly architectural invoice for their scope and their engineers totaling $69,543.62. Line 5 is an FF&E purchase for teachers' laptops from Dell totaling $115,907.35. Line number 6 is an additional FF&E purchase for student laptops from HIQ totaling $445,625. Line number 7 is a more of a furnishing invoice from NextGen, which is an owner, one of the facilities vendors for some bathroom accessories for toilet paper, paper towel, and soap dispensers for the building. Cost there $11,807.88. Line number 8 from Verizon is a invoice to connect the phone lines, and then for the first month of service totaling $494.94. And then lines 9 and 10 for WT Rich's application for payment number 21, inclusive of change orders, totaling $2,449,612.60, for a grand total this month of $3,183,815.14. Any questions?
Pleasure of the committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the vendor invoice package as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a voice vote. Roll call vote. Madeleine?
Yes.
Paul Riccardi?
Yes.
Jason Adams? Bob Donnelly?
Yes.
Tim Luff?
Yes.
Teresa Stewart?
Yes.
David Hiltz?
Yes.
Margot Fresek?
Yes.
Gary Pelletier?
Yes.
And Chairman votes yes. Thank you. That's unanimous. Oh, Diane, good to see you. And Diane Ferreira. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
All right, and we can head into a budget status update. This is all information included in the VIP, updated through February, and the invoices approved this evening. Right now, we're tracking $136,517,829 committed of the $147.9 million budget, which is roughly 92% of the budget is committed at this point. With of that 136 million committed, 105 has been spent, which is about 72% of that budget. And we're still tracking 11.3 million in uncommitted funds at this time.
Okay.
And the MSBA reimbursement update, MSBA has reimbursed the town of Norwood through request number 39, which totals $37.1 million received, which is about 54% at this time. And request number 40 was submitted at the beginning of March.
Okay. Good.
And some progress update, some photos, just to get back to our aerial shots. This is the north elevation. We can see the facade is, 98% done here. You can see behind that middle athletic light pole, you can see a little bit of the blue AVB remaining. That's the only section of facade that needs to be installed. That's where the loading bays were for the duration of the project, to load and unload larger materials to the floors. So the windows were installed in there the last couple weeks, and the facade in that area is picking up. Here's around to the other side. This is the south side where the remaining facade has been installed at the second floor media center. That's the Norwood blue color. You can see in the middle of the building there. And some interior shots. This on the left-hand side. This is the auditorium. We can see the wall paneling and ceiling paneling installed. Also see some lights going on there. And then over at the stage, again, wood paneling continuing there and wrapping up in the next couple days. Wood flooring in the gym has been completed. That next step in there is to paint the different sport lines for sports, basketball, volleyball, etc., and then stain and seal that floor. Just an example here on the right-hand side is the second floor corridor where the flooring was just installed. Ceiling tiles will be installed there shortly. Some key milestones achieved on site. Again, second floor classroom flooring and corridor flooring has been completed. Wood flooring is done in the gym, the auditorium paneling, as we mentioned. And fourth, above ceiling inspections were received through the building department for fourth, third, and second floors. It's a major milestone in order to complete those rooms. They're starting to work on the fourth floor down, flooding the ceilings with the ceiling tiles. And then we'll be doing some punch lists, some touch-up painting, locking those doors, and walking away until this staff arrives in August. Mechanical inspections also occurred at the RTUs, the rooftop units. Those are important in order to get the balancing process going, which WT Rich has started at some of the high ceiling spaces, like the auditorium, the gym, the student commons, places like that. And then that process will continue in the more typical spaces beginning at the end of March. And the kitchen equipment for the first floor arrives on site, and the setup and installation of that is ongoing. As for activity that's still ongoing on site, again, the fiber cement panels at the south elevation are wrapping up. Same with the north elevation at those former loading bays. We'll see the sport lines and the gym floor stained and sealed. Carpet has started last week on the fourth floor, and we'll move down to the third floor very soon. The auditorium stage flooring began last week. The installation of the subfloor has started. Framing for some interior knee walls at the auditorium at the second level and then along the seats. And then stair flooring has begun at stair 1 in area C. That was maybe 2 weeks ago. And starting today, actually, the site contractor returned to the site to continue with their work as they were gone for the winter. But they're back on site now.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a kind of high-level schedule update. So this is just some of the major milestones that we're tracking. Again, some of the major items that we're tracking for the next cycle, which will be March. The Allcom is on site assisting in the DAS, that's the Distributed Antenna Service System, as part of the fire department's system, and that was part of the change to the regional dispatch. That is a town vendor that is installing that work. The main MDF room is complete, or will be complete at the end of March. We met with the town's vendor last week, who will be installing the switches to get their assessment of the room, what they need in order to begin their installation. And we have a nice checklist from them, and we are completing that in order to get them on site at the end of March in order to get the building live and start to be able to communicate with all the other systems. And then as we head down closer to the summer, we target some furniture delivery in early May 12th. And which will get us to a substantial completion June 6th, where we're working through, which will be an occupancy with conditions, which will allow the town access to specific spaces in the building, likely the admin area for the principal and their staff to work in there over the summer, and some of the large spaces, like the gym, where they need to complete some sidewalks and roadways outside of that space over the summer, will not be part of that occupancy, and then we'll follow up later in August ahead of students returning in September. And then we head into the demo and abatement in June, July. Again, complete the roads around the building in August, and then targeting teachers return for the 25-26 school year in that last week of August, August 29th. Any questions?
So here's our slide showing all the important meetings we had last month and some meetings coming up this month. We want to highlight that Highland Seating had their pre-installation meeting last month. We met again with the fire department and the inspections department, and we had reviewed earlier kind of our checklist and our schedules of completion, and we met again, received any comments and feedbacks on that, so I think we're in really good shape there. And then Luke attended a meeting with the rec department and youth sports groups to give them an update on what to expect for this summer. And then coming up this month, like Luke said, we met with HubTech. They're the vendor installing the switches. That should start next week. And then we met also with the town vendor who's installing the wireless access points in the building, and that will happen first week in April. And then I just noted we have our monthly transition meetings that are going to start being twice a month now that we're coming up to transitioning the building. Quick technology FF&E transition update. So the FF&E budget, again, we're still under budget. We've committed about 93% of what we have budgeted. Again, we have a wish list that is being reviewed by the school department and will be prioritized. Technology budget, we've committed about 50% of the budget, and again, we're in really good shape. Most everything that we've purchased so far has come in under budget. And then for transition, we inventoried the existing school over a February vacation, which is one of the first steps to, kind of going through and seeing what is going to be salvaged and what is not worth salvaging. We're working through that again with the school and the school department. It'll be brought to the school committee. And we are working on setting up a mock-up classroom in the new building, hopefully so that we can get teachers in there to do a little bit of training in May. This is just a little snippet of our transition schedule that we have, and we kind of review this monthly and update it, but you can see it's kind of color-coded for what's a construction activity, what's a technology activity, what's a school activity, and it just kind of helps keep us all on track so everybody knows what to expect in the coming weeks. So we do have a couple FF&E purchase order requests tonight. So the first one is for an anchor desk for the broadcast studio that's on the second floor of the media center. And that's for $4,160 and will be provided by Mystic Millwork, who's the local to Norwood, and they provided the same thing for the Norwood High School. And then the second one is for fiber terminations for the camera connections, and so those are in the gymnasium and the auditorium, and then there's a special plate, they're all custom plates, but there's one that also gets installed in the head end for that broadcast studio, and that's for all the different camera connections. And so we put that out to bid with a couple vendors, and we are recommending we go with Oakers because they came in with the best price and have said they can meet our schedule of having everything installed by the end of May. And the total cost for that is $26,800. So combined, the two purchase orders we are requesting total $30,960. And this would be purchased with some of the remaining funds in the FF&E budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Seeing no questions, pleasure of the committee.
I'll make a motion to approve the Mystic Millwork Anchor Desk quote dated January 22nd, 2025, and the Oakers Cable terminations quote dated February 28th, 2025, totaling $30,960.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Matt Lane?
Yes.
Paul Riccardi?
Yes.
Jason Adams? Bob Donnelly?
Yes.
Tim Luff?
Yes.
Teresa Stewart?
Yes.
David Hiltz?
Yes.
Diane Ferrera?
Yes.
Margot Frizek?
Yes.
Gary Pelletier?
Yes.
And chairman votes yes, unanimous. Thank you. Okay.
We also have a technology purchase order that we would like approval on. So these are for the vape sensors that are in the restrooms in the new school. So we requested, I think, 5 quotes. One company did not submit a quote, and then you can see the other ones up here. We are recommending approval of the CDWG quote. They are the preferred spec. It's the Halo vape sensors, and they can also tie in to the school's camera system. And so the cameras are outside the bathroom, so if there's an event in the bathroom, the camera will kind of pick up people exiting the bathroom, so they kind of work hand in hand. This includes the licensing for 5 years, installation, and the cost of the sensors themselves. And the total, this is over budget. I should note that we had budgeted about $41,000. This came in at $51,000. We're not too worried about it because everything else that we have purchased has been significantly under budget. The servers were about $100,000 under budget. The switches were about $50,000 under budget, and the Chromebooks were $84,000 under budget. So we're still in a great place budget-wise, and so we are requesting approval on this purchase order.
Okay, you're recommending a 5-year licensing plan?
Correct. Yes.
All right. And again, this is out of the technology budget?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Questions, thoughts?
Just, I'm assuming, given the low price was the Verkada, that's a system that has some efficiencies to it as compared to the other quotes?
Yeah, it's a different brand. It's not the preferred spec. So when Joe wrote the request for proposal, he stated he wanted Halo vape sensors, and sometimes people will quote alternate brands because they get better pricing on them. But that one does not tie into the camera system, which is why it's not recommended.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Just to clarify, it was budgeted for 10 and it's over by 41, or was it budgeted?
So it's actually in 2 lines in the budget. There was a line for the licensing, which was $10,000, and then the sensors themselves were about $30,000. So when you add them together, we had
Okay.
$40,000 budgeted. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Again, do we have a motion?
I will vote to approve the CDWG quote dated February 28th, 2025 for vape sensors totaling $51,832.
Okay. Seconded by Madeleine. Comments? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Madeleine?
Yes.
Paul Riccardi?
Yes.
Jason Adams? Bob Donnelly?
Yes.
Tim Luff?
Yes.
Teresa Stewart?
Sorry, I think you said my name, yes.
Okay, thank you. Dave Hiltz?
Yes.
Diane Ferrera?
Yes.
Margot Frizek?
Yes.
Gary Pelletier?
Yes.
And chairman votes yes. Again, thank you, unanimous. Okay. Moving amendments.
Yes, so next we have a request for change order to Wakefield, who is a moving company. And this is for some additional library cards. So the math teachers and the science teachers have a lot of textbooks. And we decided it was easier for them to be loaded onto book carts as opposed to put in crates. So this is a cost for supplying those. This also includes the rental period from May through the end of September. And then we are also requesting hampers. There's a lot of science equipment that, again, just doesn't fit as well in crates. And also for artwork. There's a lot of artwork on the walls that is being salvaged. And we decided it's easier to put a lot of that into like a large laundry kind of hamper that's on wheels, and then it can get distributed to whichever building it's going to. So the total cost for that is $3,300.
Okay.
And I should know, if these things are returned before the end of September, you won't get charged for that additional rental fee. But I just wanted to make sure we were covered and, you know, teachers weren't rushed and having to get everything out of there quickly.
All right. Okay. Thoughts? Comments?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to approve the Vertex Amendment Number 7 totaling $3,300.
Seconded by Madeleine. Comments? Seeing none. Take a voice vote. Madeleine?
Yes.
Roll call vote, excuse me. Paul Riccardi?
Yes.
Jason Adams? Bob Donnelly?
Yes.
Tim Luff?
Yes.
Teresa Stewart?
She's power washing.
Oh,
Or the car wash.
yeah.
She couldn't hear you loud.
Dave Hiltz?
Yes.
Diane Ferreira?
Yes.
Margot Frezek?
Yes.
Gary Pelletier?
Yes.
And Chairman votes yes, so that's unanimous. Again, thank you. All right, change orders.
Alrighty, for presenting for approval tonight is change order 18. I'll take you through each individual PCO that makes up change order 18. First one is 8153 for some power requirements at the refrigerator in room 430A. So this is just a cost for the outlet and power infrastructure to that room. It's a prep room up on the 4th floor. For the refrigerator that was owned, there was just no outlet at that location. Cost there is $1,865. Next one, 850R1 for the turf meter enclosure details. So this was a scope that was included as an alternate in the GMP for some incomplete design for this turf meter enclosure. So the cost here is for $6,714, which is above and beyond the allowance of $25,000. So the total cost for this scope will be that $31,000, which includes the irrigation meter, backflow preventer, piping, a precast concrete structure to house all this stuff. Again, this is for the turf field, the meter for the watering and the electrical at that. Again, $6,714. Next one, 8170 for sanitary napkin disposal. So this is a credit of $550 to replace that piece of equipment that was purchased. It was just double bought through the facilities team and through the projects. So we're taking the money back from the contract side and then installing the units that were bought through the facilities team. The next one, 8162 for PR75. This changes the ceiling tile, the ceiling grid, and the devices in the ceiling in 3 rooms. The Performance Technology Studio, or the Black Box Theater on the 1st floor, the video production or broadcast studio on the 2nd floor, and then the adaptive PE room on the 2nd floor. It changes those ceiling grids, tiles, and devices from white to black for a total cost of $37,472. 8159 for R5531, which adds a vinyl backer at some signs. So this is this little piece of vinyl installed on the classroom, on the inside of the classrooms, where there's a sign on the exterior glass to the vinyl backer to give it a more finished look from the inside looking out, so you don't see the back of the sign with the adhesive and things like that. It was just a small piece of scope that was not included in the documents. 8152 for R513. R5513 is direction to abandon the existing drain and sewer lines that serve the existing building. So based on the lines that are installed that feed the new building are installed above the lines that feed the old building. Obviously, the existing lines, drain and sewer, had to be left operational throughout construction. WT Richmond, the site contractor, installed the new lines last summer while they were doing that parking lot work. And after reviewing it with the DPW, we thought it would be more damage than good to take those lines out below the new lines. So the site contractor proposed a credit of $10,847 to leave those lines, and we reviewed that with the DPW and decided to accept that. changed to leave the lines underground. They'd be cut and capped when the building is demoed, but the physical pipes will stay underground. 8163 for PR76, this added power and data outlets at 6 locations throughout the building for future copiers to be installed. Cost for just the electrical and data portion of that, not for the copiers, $10,447. 8164 is a change to the electric cord reels. So in the science and art classrooms, there's some cord reels that hang from the ceiling that provide power above the lab benches. And due to the proximity of some sinks, those cord reels needed to be equipped with a GFCI for code concerns. So the change was made to replace those breakers to GFCIs for $12,344. The next one, 8140 for PR47. With some revisions to the stair configuration in the auditorium. The big change here was the removal of some wood treads to replace them with some carpet to match the aisleways, which resulted in a net credit of $870. And finally, 8148 for R5496, updated the ground treatments around the electrical transformers on the outside of the building based on coordination with Millwood Power and Light. There were some plantings, some trees, some ground cover to be installed in there, and they did not want that installed. They would just prefer crushed stone. So that area was regraded, and crushed stone will be installed as part of the finished condition. So the grand total for change order 18 is $138,547. Anybody has any questions?
Start with the lockers.
Oh, I missed one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed one. 8165 R1 for PR77, which added locks to the lockers on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor. This is just an integral lock to the physical locker. We added them for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor, which is 5th, 6th, and 7th. Or sorry, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. The 5th graders do not need the locks on the lockers. The total cost for that is $64,911. Any questions?
Chairman?
Paul?
The meter for the turf field,
Yes.
is there piping under there to water the field?
Yes.
So we had that in the high school, and we discontinued it when we replaced the field because the folks that come in and designed it, Gale Associates, said you don't need the water. And the cooling off of the field lasts a very short time in the sun.
Okay.
And the one that was up to high school, the cannons was so big that when they came down, they didn't gradually shut off. They didn't shut off until they were already in the ground, basically. So you had these big valleys created every time you used them. So we never used them.
Okay.
So right now, just to clarify, we have a quick connect for an for a hose or whatever. We don't actually have any irrigation.
Okay, all
So
right.
the water line right now goes from the meter to a quick connect, and that's it. So
Okay.
if you don't even need the quick connect, I'm guessing you just get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't foresee us watering the field.
So you were saying, Paul, that item, this particular item should be dropped from the list?
Yeah, based on the new field we just put at the high school.
Okay.
Can I just ask real quick, are there any other, like, events or something that you would hold out there where you might need water? Just, I don't know if there is, but
That's why we have the $800,000 snack bond. We
Yeah,
gotta
I
bring
just
in the
wondered,
revenue.
and there is water.
You'll
there.
have hose bibs at the building and the
Right,
concession
right,
stand. Other
right.
than, yeah, but over
Okay.
by the turf field, yeah, you won't have any water closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
It could only be if there's a summer activity going on and it was excessive heat kind of a thing, I assume.
Yeah.
And then the lockers.
Yes.
I know, Margot, you want to get away from the traditional lock, but do you have to change the code on these locks? Because if you don't, as you give them to somebody else, they have the code.
So you have, I'm assuming that they're like ones I've used in the past that have 5 or 6 different codes, and then you can switch them.
You can change the code. though.
I've not found that we needed to change
Okay.
every single code when I've had them in the past, so.
Yeah, I don't know how many come on it to begin with, but they definitely can be reprogrammed.
We did look into that, yeah.
Quick question about
Yeah.
the locks too, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
They were originally, I assume, were there originally padlocks in the budget? And if so, were they included in the reduction of this?
They were not included, it
Okay.
was assumed that students would provide their
Okay.
own. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we've had some discussions on this, on some particular items. Do you have a recommendation, Paul? on
I would
the,
recommend we pull out the watering of the backfield.
Okay, that's
8150.
number 81501, Division 1. So you're recommending that we drop that, which is a total of $6,714 from the total. Okay?
And to be clear, that's just the ad, like we then wouldn't need the allowance, we wouldn't need the base piping, there's a
Right.
pretty
There's a whole-
significant
yeah.
credit associated with
Yeah.
that that we could,
Okay,
so.
all right, okay. And we're all agreed that, you know, there's no major technical concern if we do that.
And we'll just blame Paul if something goes wrong.
Absolutely. Okay? So what does that give us for a total if we drop the $6,714, since I can't do math in my head anymore?
I have it at 131,833.
131,
833.
Yeah, double check.
833? Okay,
Yep.
all right. Any further comments?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve W.T. Rich change order number 18 in the amount of $131,833.
Okay. Do we have a second? Madeleine seconds. Discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none? Let's take a roll call. Madeleine?
Yes.
Paul Riccardi?
Yes.
Jason Adams?
Aye.
Bob Donnelly?
Yes.
Tim Luff?
Yes.
Teresa Stewart?
Yes.
Dave Hiltz?
Yes.
Diane Ferreira?
Yes.
Margot Fresek?
Yes.
Gary Pelletier?
Yes.
And Chairman votes yes. Thank you, unanimous. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Outdoor play space.
Just a quick snapshot on the change orders, open potential change orders. So
Oh, sorry.
the items just approved today are included in the blue, the estimated and pending. This has been updated through change order 17, we approved last month, and also the February requisition, which we're tracking 81% complete build to date, and still at the, just under 2% of the change orders of the total budget at this time. And to the outdoor classroom space, play space, so this came up, I believe, right before the last building committee meeting, and asked to present the design on this space. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, where the two circles meet, that is the intended outdoor space outside of the student commons for the 5th and 6th graders on the first floor there. Over to the left there, where you see the checkered pattern, that is the main entrance into the building. Over under as we head more right, you can see again some more just pathways, patios that lead to, I think that's where the flag is, in the middle there with some benches around that. And then again, which leads to another entrance on the other side of the admin suite in between the nurse's office and the gym. So the design right now is to install a concrete patio out there, no seating, no fencing, nothing like that. It would just transition into the grass, green spaces around that. I know there's been some discussions about potentially adding some seating, some benches back to this space, but this is what we have in the design and in the contract at this time.
Okay. Any questions or thoughts?
So there's no benches, like if parents went with little kids for them?
I think originally there was conversations about more benches and whatnot, right? So I think the committee wanted to have a conversation about possibly putting some of those back if there was funding left over, so.
Yeah, and I think the intent too was to bring some of the ones that are currently at the middle school over. But again, we can easily look at adding new ones or different ones or
Okay,
whatever you like.
is there a consensus, regardless of whether the new benches or old benches, that there should be some benches there?
That makes sense.
Probably.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we'll work with the design team. There was an original seating, benches, some tables, so we'll look at that design and see what we can bring back from that.
Okay.
In the space we have.
Good.
Thank you.
All right.
So the thought is there's,
Alan?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing everybody, but I think I'm following along. The reason I asked for this to be back on the agenda wasn't just the outdoor seating, but at some point, we also talked about, like for recess, what would be out there. Basketball hoops came up at one point, sensory stuff came up. We originally had talked about a playground, which I know we took off, and I'm still fine with that going away. But in July of '22, when we value engineered the other stuff out, we said we might put some stuff back in for recess. Are we not having that conversation at this point?
I think it's at a different spot than this though, because if I'm understanding this correctly, this is literally right in front where the entrances are. And Teresa, I think what you're talking about is actually farther, is that there's an outdoor dining space off of the downstairs student commons.
That's,
Yeah,
so if
that's
you look
right
here,
there.
the bottom left,
That's the
this is
figure eight.
outside the
Oh,
commons.
that's out over there.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this here is going into your office, Margot, and this is that other door going
Oh,
into the
yeah,
gym.
backwards. Okay.
So you,
Got
this,
it
if you go any further left than this, you're basically like the loading docks at Zone A.
now.
yep.
Okay.
So that concrete is between the exterior door of student commons. You come out onto the concrete, then if you went to the right, you'd be the loading dock, but in front of all that is the green space.
So where there was grass, there is not grass, and like in the renderings or the pictures.
No, there's still grass there.
Like
Yep.
that.
Yep, that's all grass as you see it.
Where,
I think what
where
we-
it shows the playground here, right? I think is that the rendering you were just at? I think that's where this, peanut shaped situation is.
Where
Like
the
there.
patio was in the first one.
Yeah, right there, right.
So this was the original concept.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
It was just square in shape.
Right.
And the new concept kind of creates the figure eight between the patio and where the playground was.
So what we had talked about was, we had removed the playground, like we value engineered that out, and then talked about either putting like a half basketball court in there or some kind of ball game that, like, come on, elementary, what's it called?
Gaga
Think
ball.
of Gaga ball pit.
Gaga pit? No.
Like, so something along those lines as opposed to an actual playground.
I think that's Teresa.
And I think, Teresa, I think that's what we talked about
Yeah.
in that area over there.
Yeah, I think so. So the area that's on this image, where the tables are, is that what you were just showing on the other black and white markup?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And then where the playground is right now, there's nothing there?
I'm pretty sure it's all open, right?
Just
I think it's
grass.
just grass. Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have it in the budget to talk about what goes in that space instead of the playground? Like Margot was just saying, some type of basketball hoop or Gaga pit or something sensory based?
I mean, the short answer is there's money in the budget.
Yeah, we can definitely look, you know, if you have suggestions on what you want to see, we can definitely get pricing on a Gaga pit or a half basketball court, or if there's anything else, like, we can always provide a price, and then you guys we can bring it here and you can discuss it and decide if it's something you want to entertain.
I would like to see the half basketball court. The Gaga pit, if you're going to price that out, like, it would be the only play space that we have at the middle school, so I'd be concerned about accessibility for all kids that are there,
Okay.
so, just as an aside, I'm not sure if there's an accessible Gaga pit that's out there, but,
We can look into it for sure.
other than picking kids up.
All right, any more thoughts, Teresa, what you'd like to see?
I mean, to be honest, Alan, I was trying to find the notes that I had sent a while ago to Justin, and he was supposed to look into things, and I couldn't find my notes, so at the top of my head, I forget what we all recently talked about, but
Yeah, I mean, I remember,
the Gaga pit and the sensory space, I just remember those being the three broader topics.
yeah, okay, all right.
Sounds
Okay, good. All set? Good, okay. All right, thank you. Endine walking path we've talked about. Any other items?
Just an update on the previously discussed topics. First of all being the screen wall. So at the last meeting, we had asked AI3 to put together a proposal for design services for the potential added screen wall. They did put together a proposal, again, for their cost and their consultants. It will be $138,368. If the committee decides to proceed with that work, that would be AI3's cost to design a solution for the mechanical units that would like to be screened.
Do you need a decision today, or can we, think about it, or what? I mean, is it necessary to do it today?
No,
Okay. All right.
just for consideration.
So maybe, when we have the next meeting, we can go into this in a little bit more detail, what the proposal actually consists of.
Yeah, AI3 could talk us through the proposal if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know it just came out today, but yeah, we'll wait till next.
Yeah, why don't we wait until next time and
Absolutely.
better, more detailed discussion, and we'll move on, make a decision. Okay.
And then on the athletic storage unit, so we met with the youth sports group last week, finalized the size and location of the units. We are running through one question with the design team to see if we can shift the location of one unit next to the turf field. Should be a quick exercise, and then we'll be able to move forward with those. The size of those have been released, so no issues there. And then the ribbon cutting ceremony came up at the last meeting. We are talking through that at our transition meeting, and we'll provide some updates as that develops, but
Good.
nothing to add at this time.
Okay.
And for future meetings, just noting, our next meeting in April will be on site with a walkthrough at 4 o'clock and meeting at 5. And then if we continue with the second Monday trend, those are the dates for May, being May 12th and June 9th.
Okay.
Big day,
All
Jim.
right. Good. Any other questions? Anything that anyone would like to bring up? Hearing none, let's do a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded, we'll just do that with a simple voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.